of the best ways to have a very productive life is to understand that every disadvantage carries an inherent advantage, just like every advantage carries an inherent disadvantage. Now, I will share some examples with you. I have studied so many biographies, maybe over 1,000 of them, and I have come to a conclusion that behind people with great strengths were people that were able to convert some great weaknesses into those great strengths. So R. Kelly is arguably the greatest R&B singer and performer of all time, and he's known as the king of R&B, the Pied Piper. But a little will you know, this man who has written for everybody from Celine Dion to Michael Jackson, also has an impediment in reading and writing. So R. Kelly doesn't read well, he doesn't write well. But I believe that why he has been able to write so many iconic songs is that his inability to read well and write well compels him to visualize and to read and write in his brain, and that's why he could come up with songs like Move Your Body Like a Snake, Ma, or Baby Turn Around and Let Me See That Body Go Bum Bum Bum, or it's the remix to Ignition and compare intercourse to putting a key into the ignition of a car, and so on and so forth. So that's one way that you can see a person's disadvantage play out to an advantage. The second area is with Albert Einstein, arguably the greatest genius who ever lived. Do you know that Albert Einstein never spoke a word until he was 3 years old? So for the first 3 years he could not speak. Now you will think that that's a disadvantage, maybe the child has a medical problem or something, but I believe that because I have understood and studied the connection between excessive talking and shallow thinking, the fact that he did not say too much in his first 3 years gave him the ability to be very introspective and be a person of deep thought. When Albert Einstein died sometime in 1965 at Princeton University, the pathologist Thomas Harvey chopped up his brain to examine it, and he was discovered that the connection between his parietal lobe, prefrontal cortex and corpus callosum were very thick, very, very strong. I believe that it was because he was a very deep thinker, and I believe that there was a strong connection between him not being able to speak for the first 3 years, which compelled him to do more of thinking than talking from a young age, that eventually culminated in the greatness of Albert Einstein. So in every disadvantage you will find advantages, and in every advantage you will also find disadvantages. The final example I will give is with the greatest Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps, with about 28 Olympic medals. Now, he said he saw, in quotes, disadvantage with his bodily frame. His upper body appears longer than what it should be compared to the ratio between a person's upper body and lower body. So he did not have the body of certain athletes, or a body that was suited for certain sports like maybe American football or basketball. But he says that he later discovered that his body was perfectly suited for swimming. So when you appear to have a disadvantage in an area, it may actually be that it's a disadvantage in a certain context, but could be an advantage in an entirely different landscape. I want to share more examples. Okay, so if you notice, the three greatest football players of all time, Edson Arantes do Nascimento, otherwise known as Pele, Diego Maradona and Lionel Messi, are all short, diminutive players. None of them is even anywhere near 6 feet. Now, you will see being short as a disadvantage, or some people will say being short is a disadvantage. Of course, it may be a disadvantage for certain people, but for football players, the more diminutive they were in certain respects, the more they were able to accomplish their greatness. That diminutive stature gave them the ability to do things in certain ways. Being a football journalist for about 10 years, I discovered that one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, Jose Luis Chilavert, said something. He said this was not a short man. He was a man that was over 6 feet tall, but he says my feet were very small. Now, Jose Luis Chilavert was a goalkeeper who could take free kicks and score. He could take penalties and score. He was known for that. But he says that while he was able to do so was because his feet were unusually small. So life is not about advantage and disadvantage. It's about finding advantage in disadvantage and being careful to know that even in advantage lies disadvantage. I would share 2 more examples. Do you know that when a person is 7 feet tall, they have a 65% chance of dying even before they get to the age of 70, especially dying of heart-related problems? Guess what? Go and Google all the tallest men who ever lived. They never lived to be 60. Most of them never lived to be 60. So you can see that being tall to many people is seen as an advantage, but you can see the inherent disadvantage in that. So one more time, in every disadvantage is an inherent advantage, and in every advantage is an inherent disadvantage. It's all about us being careful to find the advantages and then using it to our best abilities. Do have an amazing day, and bye for now. I want to facilitate a class on breaking down the concepts of the Bible, not just these 3, but many more. If you're interested, please call the numbers on the screen, send me a DM, and we'll reach out to you.